rage, stay in your lane, turn the page, but something woke up deep inside, a stronger voice, a wilder ride. I've paid my dues, I know my worth, I've fallen down, I've had rebirth. Now I'm standing in my truth, not chasing time, I'm choosing me. I've got wisdom in my bones, fire in my soul. This isn't the ending, this is the moment I take control. Life gets better after 40, clearer vision, brighter glow. I'm not fading, I'm ascending. This is the best I've ever known. Stronger, bolder, unapologetic. I'm just getting started, don't you see? 40's forward, this is my time. The future's finally looking like me.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of 40s Forward. Today, we're going to talk about something that's foundational when it comes to your health, your wellness, your hormones, your sex drive. And it's something that's free and something we often overlook until we have a problem. So I want to welcome with us today, we have Dorina Torje, and she spent 25 years in IT, but suffered 12 years of insomnia daily, and actually ended up getting on sleeping pills because the insomnia was so bad. And so she, at the beginning of 2024, when the sleeping pills weren't even doing their job anymore, she basically had to go back home and relearn how to sleep. So basically she took 30 days medical leave and then was able to turn her sleep around, and now she's able to sleep drug-free, and she started the NaturalSleep.shop to basically help to bring people back to sleeping healthy, sleeping naturally, and doing something that often we take for granted. So thank you so much, Dorina, for being with us today.
Thank you, Betsy, for taking the time and giving the importance to this topic, and having me here with you and with your audience as well.
So go back and tell me what was happening when you first started having issues with sleep?
Well, it's a great question. It started in the same period, if you remember, potentially when Michael Jackson was put it under anesthesia.
Oh, God.
Because he was also having trouble sleeping at that time. And I got inspired because my insomnia was triggered more or less in the same period. Thanks to or due to a miscarriage that I was passing through at the time. And I got inspired by that story, right? We all look towards U.S. Best practices in any field. So I said, well, if that's the last chance, because I tried so many things by then, I just got inspired and went to the emergency room here in Brussels. And I said, well, I need to be put under anesthesia. And the doctors over there, they said, well, madame, here is not US. We cannot do that. This is not our protocol. Instead, what they did, they handed me initially 2 sleeping pills, and they requested me to come 2 days later and to discuss about the effect of the 2 pills. So I kept going for about 10 days towards in this emergency room, because the sleeping pills, they had more or less no effect in there. So we kind of passed through this trial and error period of 10 days to the point that they said, well, we cannot support you any longer in emergency room. You have to find a specialist. And I said, wow, now I'm sleep deprived and already difficult to carry on with my daily tasks. Where to find a specialist? And I'm not sure how it's in US, but in Europe it's kind of, takes a lot of time before you reach out on somebody that is available and that's available to take new patients, basically. However, I navigated the system and managed to have my first sleep study back then. Nothing in particular was popped up in that. And finally, I found some specialists and I took it from there. So
that, and it's funny because it's like, we've been sleeping ever since we're born. No one ever thinks like, oh, I'm going to have a sleep problem. And so, like, and you said you tried some things before you actually got to the point where you were so desperate that you ended up in the ER. What were the things that you had tried and it just didn't seem to work at the time?
Well, tried everything that we Google all, right? So we try to go see banana, we take magnesium, we take whatever, eat kiwi, dietary things, changing your bedrooms, eventually the temperature, the blinders. You kind of, try to sort out, because sleep is in the ecosystems, right? It is not one solution that will sort it out at first, but sleeping pills, I believe, should be the very last option to be considered. Which, to some degree, that was my case as well, because I was running in all kind of, my own research, going with my own research, and I said, well, I'm not a specialist at the end, let's go to the specialist, see what they say, because maybe that's something physiologically, maybe something that it's wrong with my body that needs to be addressed first before I go to the pills. But no, I was put right away to the pills. And then I found somebody that was specialized in CBTI, which is still the golden standard to treat insomnia. And I remember in the first conversation, it felt so weird that just through the conversations, these ladies will help me to find my rest back. And nevertheless, well, turned out that was quite efficient at the time, in the sense that they kind of teach me how to apply the sleep restriction. Based on my patterns that I described, they try to figure out a way to clump my hours together, because I was sleeping, my sleeping hours, they were dispersed all over the places. So we had to achieve that goal to have at least 5 hours all clumped together. So they decided that I should go to bed every night at the same time, mainly 2 a.m., and stay in bed not longer than 7 a.m., and if I would be for more than 15 minutes awake, then I should change the room. So they proposed me basically to teach my body, associate the bedroom only with sleep. And that's kind of based on the experiment that also Pavlov was having with the dog, that when you associate food with a certain signals. So that was the first training that I had. And I had regular checkups, and we looked at journaling, at what time I was kind of taking my medication, what time I was awake during the night, and how long, till we came up with quite reasonable solutions, I would say, but still a short time. And then, from there on, during that time, we tried several blends of different medications, because we couldn't spot out from the beginning which will be the cocktail to work best for my needs.
Out of curiosity, with your insomnia, because I know sometimes there's different types, were you having problems falling asleep, or were you falling asleep and then like waking up, or both, or all?
It was both, actually. Yeah, it was both. And then at the time I find the right blend, so my routine would be I take my pills at 10 p.m. Then, regardless of the combination, I would still wake up around 2, 3 a.m. And if it was like, I don't know, a stressful period, eventually I will not sleep any longer. Or I will kind of start meditating, and eventually between 5 and 7 a.m., I will have another 2 hours of sleep clubbed together. So that was the big majority of years how I operated.
And now with what you learned, I'll get into like more of the options. Do you sleep through the night now?
Absolutely. And
that's amazing.
It's the biggest achievement of my life. I mean, professionally, nothing as a titles or job or nothing. It's more valuable compared to overcoming this challenge.
And I always find it's when people have something that is a challenge that, yes, there's doctors, and I'd like to think of myself as an amazing doctor, but sometimes we don't have all the answers. And it's the person that seeks out the answer that really becomes the master. So I'm going to ask you, what have you learned since having this?
During the period, well, I learned that you have to be the owner of your own health in the first place. You take that responsibility. You have that ownership for yourself. So nobody else will kind of take you by hand all the way through, especially not 12 years, right? And do your own research and trust the system to some degree, but also you are the one living inside of your body. You should know best how to carry on any kind of investigations for yourselves. So that's part of the lessons. But then also, one of my mentors at some point, because I started to working alongside with somebody that became my mentor, my person to go to, and he was totally against medication, and he was kind of diligently working with me to change my mindset and to take me out of that. But that was the only one person that kind of directed me in that on that route. Normally, and he was telling me at some point that this is a case of malpractice, actually. And that was the wake-up call for me, because when he said something like that, I was kind of, wait a minute, whose malpractice is this? Because at the end, all these years, I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and I was requesting for the pills. They all prescribed me, and nobody was giving me actually an alternative solutions. But they were saying, okay, at least they say, well, this is not good. This is not a long-term solution. You have to figure out something. Yes, but what is the alternative solution there? And when my mentor told me so, I said, wow, then whose malpractice is this? It's just me in the end, right? So we need to be responsible for our own actions. They are only actions and consequences at the end.
Yeah, and it's tough. And I know, especially like traditional medicine, which I originally trained, but now I've gotten into functional and integrated medicine, where we look more at the root cause. But traditional medicine is, you have a symptom, here's a pill for it. So it doesn't surprise me that you're like, okay, I can't sleep. And they were like, okay, well, instead of people like going, okay, well, what are the other holistic things that we can do? Or what are the things we can really, those pills are just Band-Aids. So, yeah.
They will just treat a symptom, they will generate additional symptom, they will trigger additional symptom. And really, we don't take the time and space to step back and look what put us in the first place towards that condition.
And I do want to ask you, because you brought up this idea of, this is a word I never heard of, chronodiversity. Mm-hmm. What in the world is chronodiversity?
Oh, I love that question because I'm asked about that more often and often when I'm going and speaking in corporates about that. Well, there are actually studies somewhere in Australia saying that morning people, so chronodiversity refers to the chronotypes, right? So we need to accept that we are not all wired in the same way. And some people, they are more effective and operational in the morning. Some people like me, I love the evening times. I was always the top of my school, but I hated school just because they were starting early morning. Because that's how I function, right? But now, in all these programs that we have, we can incorporate about diversity, equity, inclusion, what we address currently, there are a number of diversities that we started addressing recently, kind of the gender gap. We do quite well on that. There is a lot of talk and conversations. What else? The sexual acceptance and the racial differences. There are much more differences in human race than that. And one of that is the fact that we are wired differently to go to sleep or to function. And culturally, we established that this is the window where we need to work between, 9 to 5. This is the window where we play, and this is the other window where we sleep. And anybody from outside of that range is kind of, there are studies I was starting to say in Australia that says that morning persons, they are often evaluated as more loyal, more committed, more hardworking. They get better projects. So that's to some degree not fair, just because you function on a different slots. That's not... we need to create environments which are more inclusive from that perspective.
I love that idea because I was just thinking about that. I'm definitely not a morning person, not at all. Like I function much better like later in the day, but I didn't even think about like work performance. You could potentially, whether you as yourself or even if you have people working underneath you, if you understood their chronodiversity, you could better fit their work hours so they were more productive instead of making them trying to fit into a pre-prescribed work hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so fast forward, so you basically figured out how to sleep better, got all the sleeping pills, but then now have made it your mission to kind of talk about natural sleep. And then you have a shop where you sell products. What kind of things are you selling, and what have you found that works? And I know not everything works on everybody, but what are the things that you're excited about?
Well, we have a holistic approach, not only the products, but we have also services. Because if you are someone like me with my tech background, I would rather go firsthand with a device, with a tech solution. But I recognize, and through the discussions that we have with our customers, that some people, they prefer to be guided all the way through and to have human conversations in the process. So we created so-called Dreamwell program for that part as well. Now, in terms of products that we have, in the first years of existence, we managed to partner with 27 suppliers worldwide. Now, our intention is to kind of create a go-to marketplace for sleep only. Why is that? So it comes with my own struggle of researchers in 12 years. Many times when I was kind of in sleep-deprived situations, I was going online.
Hey, Dorina, I have to be rude, and I have to just stop this for a minute. You're doing great. I have to stop it because, wait, I'm going to just stop. I'm going to pause the recording. All right. So you were talking about these programs and products.
Right. So our approach is holistical. As I've been saying, right? So we have products, but not only that. Being me, person coming with a tech background, I'd rather go firsthand with that solution. But I know there are a lot of people that would prefer to be guided along the way. So we created the program where we work with all kinds of specialists, which is called Dreamwell. But in terms of products, so what is our intention? Our intention is to make any product searchable, easy searchable. All these years, as you can imagine, I tried so many solutions, and I found myself so many times Googling for finding something that I didn't try it yet. And each time when I was getting the certain results, at least with certain results, I see that, well, some of them I tried, they didn't work, some of them I already know about them. But all the time I was asking myself, what else is available out there that I didn't put my hands on? And where can I find this? Now, today, thanks God, we live in the best period in history to live with this condition, because there is a lot of research going on currently in the field. There are plenty of devices that most of them, they are just 3 years old, which didn't exist back then. But every company will develop their own solutions, like their own baby, and develop their own brand. And me, as a person that I'm suffering with that condition, how I'm going to find you unless I see an ad passing through my feed, right? So I always had that quest, what else can be a good solution for my condition? So with that mindset, I try to create this source of inspiration, if you want, and clubbing as much as possible all the suppliers together in one place. So somebody with this condition can have a place where to at least look what is available, right? So that's the whole intention. Now, in terms of products, we try to look after products that they have an extra touch of innovation. Because, well, pillows, yes, normal pillows or normal mattresses, let's say, that's kind of mainstream, if you want, and people will think firsthand that we need to start somewhere there around the bed environment. But what we look for is that we look for smart mattresses with extra tech included in that. Or we look for lights, all kind of light therapy that can regulate your circadian rhythm. or extra biometrics monitors that can give you real-time data of what's happening in your body. So you take full ownership in that, and you don't outsource completely that medical app. So vagus nerve simulators, there are plenty of them emerging these days. We partner with those ones that are also approved as medical devices here in Europe. But we have also the ones that are not categorized as even passed through clinical studies, so they are falling into the wellness devices. Now, see, sleep is an ecosystem. So even if today I'm sleeping completely drug-free, and last month I was celebrating 2 years since I'm sleeping completely drug-free, I still, take care of my environment. For instance, if I'm traveling, I still know that I need the blinders with me there. And if I'm kind of ending up in a hotel where they don't have these dark curtains, then I'm prepared with my travel kit. I know even today that I'm sensitive to the noise, which can perturb or disturb my sleep. So I'm going alongside with my travel kit with the noise reductions things, with the eye mask eventually, or even with the blinders that I can take with me during the travel time. Yeah, we work with athletes, for instance. They kind of need to be on their performance peak at any point in time, regardless how much they travel on different time zones. And there are kind of smart mattresses today that exist with a special technology incorporated with low-frequency technology that they will allow them to recover fast, for instance. And or if you are not in that category as a sportive person, and you have troubles, going in holidays, and you know that you cannot sleep in a strange bed, you can carry that kind of device with you as well. And apart from this is kind of just the product. But then we work with specialists. And here we have 3 packages as part of the Dreamwell program. And they're depending on where you stand with your sleep deprivation. If you just kind of fall short on 2 nights and you're a little bit tired there, we have a light version of that, looking at your relaxation patterns, and we support you with acupuncture, with massage, with spa entrances there. Or if you want to kind of investigate a bit more in depth what is the root cause of your conditions, then we have a second package which is a mind and body reset, and then we work with CBTI specialists, we work with life coaches, theta healers, all kind of holistic specialists. Or if you are on the verge of a burnout or you're kind of transitioning to that period, we work also with burnout coaches, we work with somnologists, and we do sleep studies for you. So we try to look at that conditions from all kind of angles, because whatever we tried in the past and work, potentially if you're now again in that same situation due to your life context, potentially it's not working what you tried before. So you need to keep, adjusting your researchers based on the new conditions that you're living.
So it sounds like you have this whole ecosystem, like there's so many choices. So people are going to be able to find their sleep answers with some level of what you're doing.
That's true, but sometimes it's good to have a large offer. But then our customers, they were kind of forcing us to create kind of a blueprint in that sense, so to help them guide them into their choices. So we kind of offer that service to have one-to-one conversations before they buy things from us, or to put them on a whole kind of blueprint program there, and to evaluate stage by stage where they stand, what they tried so far, what is the actual conditions today, and to suggest one of the parts versus the other.
If somebody was ask you just to give you your top advice for better sleep, because I'm sure even people without sleep problems, everybody could use better sleep, what would be your top couple advice for how to improve your sleep?
First, do not get more anxious if you're not sleeping. So it starts from there. I know that, well, the specialists, they recommend between 7 and 9 hours to find your sweet spot there. A lot of times I'm asked, how many hours should I sleep? Well, that's ideal. But if you sleep 5 good hours and you gradually increase that over time by taking all kind of measures, it's already good enough. And I would say, and do not over stress if you don't make the hours. I understand that the hours are important, and a lot of doctors today in longevity space, they kind of advocate going over 7 hours. I still don't sleep fully 7 hours unless I do a nap sometimes during the days. Maybe with additional of that nap, I kind of fall in that spectrum. But with 6 good hours of good quality, not waking up, not breaking the sleep, not having micro awakening times during the night, you can still function way better than taking the medication and doing that 5-6 hours with medication. So don't stress if you don't really hit the numbers, that's one thing. And then stay consistent. Do not confuse your body. Right? So most of the people, they try to catch up during the weekends with their sleep, and they kind of ventilate at maximum all kind of things during the weekdays. I would say, well, teach your body a certain consistency there, and that will serve you better in the long run.
I definitely like with the consistency. It's something that I didn't do because often I was like, oh, let me get one more thing done. And then I'd push myself to exhaustion. But I have to say over the years, I've kind of said no, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I've made the rule that I'm not on my computer after 7 o'clock at night because I found that the light from the computer was stimulating. But I also have started setting an alarm. So I set an alarm at night for like 10:30 so that I have to stop everything I'm doing, and that's when I have to start my bedtime routine, because otherwise I'll just keep going. So
yeah, exactly. We all been there if we kind of experience some degree of sleep deprivation. But I think long run and thinking strategically, I would say keep it consistent, stay more or less within the same hours whenever it's possible. Obviously, we all need to catch up on a flight or a train, and that's disturbing the cycle, but stay there. Exercise. So I was not that keen on exercising. I was kind of a lazy on that side my entire life. My background is mathematician, so I love to stay behind the computers, not move that much. And well, unfortunately, we all pay the price for that, even today. So I would really go find what is working for you. For me, it's working swimming. That's the only sport that I could force myself to go out and do something in this area of movement, of exercise. And anything that works for you, try to stick with one of the sports that you can include in your routine.
And, just in wrapping up here, because there's so much interesting stuff, is there something I did not ask you about that you think is really important for us to know about sleep?
There are so many things, but well, it depends on the questions I receive. Well, something that pops up to me now. Yeah, so I think to have hope. You see, all these years, I was so convinced that I cannot get out of the sleeping pills. There is no way out. Once you enter that route, there is no possible way out. And I was convinced that I tried. I did so many research, and I tried to reach all kind of hospitals for potential clinical studies. I even reached the Harvard Medical School at some point. They sent me a list of 300 something clinical studies via email, and I said, wow, this time these guys, they will fix me to some degree, because I was so desperate that I was ready to try any unvalidated solution. So I did all kind of strange things at that time. But have hope. I'm the living proof that you can come out on the other side. And yes, it's not easy, Sometimes you don't have support. I didn't have any support in my first 6 weeks when I dropped out of the pills. Based on my own will, the doctors did not suggest me to drop off the pills. I decided on my own, and in the first 6 weeks, I was totally on my own. It's not easy. It was scaring. I remember I was texting at some point my mom after 4 nights, 4 days not sleeping at all. And I said, well, because I was reading online that people going off this medication, they kind of they are at risk to go into the delirium state. And it was 11 in the evening, and I was texting my mom, if in the morning you feel like I'm not in the right state, can you please take me to the emergency room? And also, all kind of things can happen, but there is possibility. I'm not saying to do it as the way I did it. I did it because I was totally desperate, and the pills anyway didn't help me to the point to function properly during the day. And that was my journey. But find your way and have hope that you can get out of this pills.
That is amazing. Where can people find more information about you, Dorina?
Well, on our websites, we have all kind of social media, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I'm Dorina Torje. They can book a call with our calendar from NaturalSleep.shop. Happy to support anyone.
You know, I'm just going to, for some reason, the sound cut out, so I'm going to just record that part again because the sound got muffled, and I want to make sure that everybody can hear what you said. So I'm just going to ask you again, and then we'll just do it again. All right, Dorina, this has been amazing. Where can people find out more about you and more about Natural Sleep?
Well, we have our own website, NaturalSleep.shop, and we are present on all social media. We have the links from our websites towards our social media. Me personally, I'm available also on LinkedIn, Dorina Torje on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, all the other platforms.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Dorina, for sharing your story. And I'm so happy that your story had a happy ending and that now you're turning around and helping people with the things that you know about sleep. So I'm just going to remind everybody, make sure you go follow Dorina, go check out Natural Sleep, and make sure you check out this, save this, follow us. Follow me on social media. Come back again next week because we have more information on 40s Forward, living your best life, 40s and older. So once again, thank you, everybody, and like, share, and see you again next week.
Life gets better after 40, clearer, vision brighter glow. I'm not fading, I'm ascending. This is the best I've ever known. Stronger, bolder, unapologetic. I'm just getting started, don't you see? 40s forward, this is my time. The future's finally looking like me. We got wisdom, we got fire, we got nothing left to prove. This is power, this is freedom, this is living fully you. Life gets better after 40, this is where I rise and shine. 40's forward, full of purpose. I'm stepping into my